It's me, Ron DeLegge, and it's great to see you again. Coming up on today's program, I've got some charts I want to share with you in the ETF universe, and that will allow you to compare and contrast your own portfolio's performance with some of the ETFs that we're going to discuss. Of course, 2025 is already half over, so I pose the question to you, how are you doing? Well, before we take a look at the charts, I want to point your attention to a poll that's currently running at ETF Guide TV. And I asked you, how many holdings does your investment portfolio have? The vast majority of you, 47%, said less than 10. 32% of you said between 10 to 25. And then 20% of you said over 25 holdings. And then we had some comments on this poll. Of course, I encourage you to post your own comments if you haven't done so already. Trucker Day said that his portfolio, his or her portfolio, has between 10 to 25 holdings. MVP 111 has 61 stocks. Wow. And then Abraham has over 40 positions in 3 different accounts. And so Ron's rule of thumb, with regard to number of holdings that a portfolio should have, there is no specific hard, fast rule that says you should have X number of holdings in a portfolio. However, as the number of portfolio holdings increases, that also increases the chances or odds that your portfolio could become over-diversified. In other words, you hold too much of the same thing or too much of everything and not enough of the right thing. The other thing to keep an eye on when it comes to number of portfolio holdings is performance. If the size of the portfolio in terms of holdings is increasing, but it has not been a detriment to performance, then I would say it's not a problem. However, if your portfolio has been underperforming market indexes or lagging, then this might be one of the reasons why maybe you have become over-diversified. Maybe you have too much of the same thing, too much of everything, and not enough of the right thing. In terms of performance, let's take a look at the major ETFs tracking key asset classes from stocks to bonds to real estate to commodities to Bitcoin. And the winner so far since the beginning of the year has been Bitcoin. It is up over 26%. IBIT is the ETF from iShares that tracks this area. And it has really, as you can see here, just over the past month, spiked as that big budget bill U.S. government was just passed. It's going to create trillions of dollars more in debt. And investors seems like they've been positioning themselves in digital gold, Bitcoin, to hedge against that. And then we've got some of these other asset classes performing pretty well. Commodities, SDCI, got a pop. We're going to take a look at copper in a second. Copper was in the news and has been on the rise. Commodities have been a great performing asset class. Of course, SDCI, if you have not checked out that ETF, one of the top core commodity ETFs out there, if your portfolio is missing exposure to commodities, you got to check out SDCI, 5-star rated Morningstar fund, and certainly what I would consider a core ETF for core exposure to commodities. And then the rest of the other asset classes, from stocks to bonds to real estate, all up. And that's been sort of the theme. You'll notice that around April, when we had that tariff liberation scare, most of the major asset classes sunk in value, but now they're rising in value and have been up since then. Will that continue? Well, let's take a look at the S&P 500 industry sectors. There's 11, and you'll notice we've got 4 in double digits, led by industrials, utilities, technology, and communication services. We've got just 2 industry groups that are down, and it's not by much. So the message here, the overriding trend has been bullish to the upside. That's what the industry sectors are telling us. In terms of Bitcoin, this was a post on X from Charlie Bilal, and this was interesting. Bitcoin actually, when he posted this, it had hit 116. It peaked at 119, and 10 years ago, it was trading at $290 for one Bitcoin. and it has increased over 400 times since then. That's an 82% annualized return for Bitcoin. Congratulations to Bitcoin holders, Bitcoin investors. It's been an incredible ride. It's created a lot of wealth. In terms of some other just quick reminders, ETFK.com and ETFK Retire. We just created a new playlist at ETF Guide TV on ETFs inside your 401k plan. So check that out, ETFK Retire. And those of you looking to add ETFs inside your retirement plan, you'll get started at ETFK.com. In terms of copper, we discussed this earlier. We talked about commodities. Check out the bullish performance in copper prices. That's been helpful to copper miners as well as copper itself. We've got COP, C-O-P-P, and then COP-J, which is the small cap miners in the copper universe. Those are two plays on copper from Sprott. You also have the leverage play on copper itself, the 2X copper ETF, CPXR, which has been also bullish on the upside. So these are a couple ETFs for those of you that want to play copper. And copper, of course, we've talked a lot about that on this channel, and all of the bullish background with the development of AI and all of the other technologies that are requiring more and more copper. And, of course, the supply constraints, which has been boosting the demand as well as the price of copper. Let's talk about Nvidia. We can't get away from this. It was the first company to reach a $4 trillion market cap. Congratulations to Nvidia bulls. What a run. And this is a year-to-date performance chart. Now, this just shows you that markets go up, markets go down. It has not been a straight line up for Nvidia shareholders. Lest we forget, the stock was in negative territory in the spring, and investors were worrying, some of them, not all of them, is the best in the past? Is Nvidia, is the run over? And the answer was no. The run was not over. We see that those of you that bought and held have been rewarded. Nvidia is up over 22% this year. That's outperformed the S&P 500 as well as triple Qs. And take a look at NVDU, which aims for 2x daily performance to Nvidia. We've seen a lot of really a boom in single stock ETFs. This one allows you to be long Nvidia with leverage. And this particular ETF has also gained. I wanted to take a longer viewpoint perspective on this. What has NVDU done over the past 1.5 years compared to Nvidia itself? And you'll see that it's gained almost 300% versus Nvidia itself, which has gained just a little over 200%. So leverage in a bull market, if you're using leverage bull ETFs in a rising market, that's the right application. And that's certainly what we've seen here. And that's why NVDU has been such a great performer. So check that particular ETF out. And of course, we've charted this against the triple Qs. And both Nvidia and the single stock 2X bull ETF have outperformed by a mile, more than a mile, the triple Qs. Now, in terms of copper, this is another look at a bigger view of the chart. It was kind of small on the previous slide, but this is a bigger perspective on what's happening in the copper market. COP, as well as COP-J and CPXR, all performing strongly on the upside. So I remind you about what the big money's doing, how they've been allocated, and where their wealth has come from. This is the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, top 10 billionaires globally, and I highlighted the industry sectors where that wealth is concentrated and where it's been made. And you'll notice that it's technology that has led the way. And so from an investment perspective, take a look at your portfolio, the growth portion of that portfolio. This is what you should be emphasizing: innovation inside your investment portfolio and technology. That's where the big money made their money, and that's going to continue. Technology will continue to develop and expand, and so you want to participate in that growth, and you should obviously be orientating your portfolio in that direction. Be sure to watch for upcoming episodes. We've got new ETF battles that will be dropping We've also got a new episode of ETFK Retire, as well as First Look, ETF with the New York Stock Exchange, Metals in Motion, and then, of course, new videos on the Direction and USCF playlist. So be sure to watch for all of that. Hit me up in the comment section below. Let me know how your portfolio is doing for 2025. And if there's any ETFs that you'd like us to feature on the channel or discuss, hit me up again in the comment section below. And thanks for watching. I'm Ron DeLegge with ETF Guide.